Ethan Caldwell was a man who seemed to have it all. At just 38 years old, he had built a business empire from scratch, earning millions and establishing himself as one of the most successful entrepreneurs in his city. His days were filled with meetings, phone calls, and endless decisions that shaped his company's future. But behind his polished suits and confident demeanor lay a quiet sadness. A sadness rooted in the life he shared with his 6-year-old son, Liam. Liam was Ethan's entire world. From the moment he was born, Ethan promised himself that he would be the best father possible, even though raising a child alone came with its own set of challenges. Liam's mother had passed away shortly after childbirth due to complications, leaving Ethan to navigate parenthood on his own. For the first few years, everything felt normal, or as normal as it could be for a grieving widower trying to balance work and family. But when Liam turned 3, doctors delivered news that changed their lives forever. Liam had nonverbal autism. The diagnosis hit Ethan like a tidal wave. He spent countless nights researching therapies, reading books, and consulting specialists, hoping to find a way to help his son communicate. Speech therapists, occupational therapists, behavioral analysts, they all became regular fixtures in their home. Yet no matter how many hours they worked or how much money Ethan poured into treatments, progress remained painfully slow. The silence between them grew heavier with each passing day. Despite the setbacks, Ethan refused to give up. He took Liam everywhere, to parks, museums, and restaurants, hoping to expose him to new experiences that might spark some form of connection. One of their favorite places was a small diner, tucked away in a quiet corner of town. It wasn't fancy, but the food was good and the staff always greeted them with warm smiles. Every Thursday evening, Ethan and Liam would sit at the same booth near the window, enjoying burgers and fries while watching cars pass by outside. On this particular Thursday, Ethan felt more exhausted than usual. Work had been especially demanding that week, and he found himself longing for a break from the constant pressure of being both parent and provider. As they settled into their usual spot, Ethan glanced around the diner, noticing the familiar faces of waitstaff bustling about. That's when he saw her, a young waitress with curly brown hair tied back in a loose ponytail. She moved gracefully between tables, balancing trays with ease while chatting animatedly with customers. There was something about her energy that caught Ethan's attention. Her name tag read Clara, and she approached their table with a bright smile. Unlike other servers who often avoided interacting too much with Liam, Clara knelt beside him, meeting him at eye level. "Hi there," she said cheerfully, her voice soft yet inviting. Ethan watched curiously as she pointed to items on the menu, mimicking animal sounds and making funny faces. To his amazement, Liam responded, not with words but with a giggle. It was a sound Ethan hadn't heard in months, maybe even years. Encouraged by Liam's reaction, Clara continued engaging him. She tapped the picture of a cheeseburger and mooed loudly, pretending to chew exaggeratedly. Liam's eyes lit up, and he reached out to touch the menu, pointing at the same image. Clara clapped her hands excitedly. "Yes, cheeseburger it is," she exclaimed, turning to Ethan with a grin. "He's got great taste." For the rest of the meal, Clara stayed close, chatting with Liam in a way that made him feel seen and understood. She didn't rush him or expect anything beyond what he was capable of giving. And then, just as they were finishing dessert, something extraordinary happened. Liam looked up at Clara, his lips moving hesitantly before forming a single syllable. "Mo." Ethan froze, his fork halfway to his mouth. Had Liam really spoken, or had he imagined it? Clara's eyes widened in delight and she leaned closer to Liam. "Did you say more?" she asked gently. Liam nodded shyly, repeating the word again, clearer this time. Tears welled up in Ethan's eyes as he realized what had just occurred. After years of silence, his son had uttered his first word, and it had happened because of a stranger's kindness. As Clara cleared their plates, Ethan couldn't stop staring at her. Who was this woman who had accomplished in minutes what teams of experts had failed to do in years? How did she know exactly how to connect with Liam in a way that felt so natural? Questions swirled in his mind, but one thing was certain. Clara had changed something fundamental in their lives, and Ethan knew he needed to learn more about her. Little did he know, this chance encounter would set off a chain of events that would alter not only Liam's future, but his own as well. That night, as Ethan tucked Liam into bed, he replayed the scene at the diner over and over in his head. The mic, laughter, the giggles, the breakthrough, it was all so vivid, so real. For the first time in a long time, Ethan allowed himself to hope. Maybe, just maybe, there was a way to bridge the gap between him and his son, and maybe Clara held the key to unlocking it. The next morning, Ethan woke up with a sense of purpose he hadn't felt in years. His mind kept replaying the events from the diner, the way Clara had knelt beside Liam, her playful tone, and the miraculous moment when Liam spoke his first word. It wasn't just the fact that Liam had said more that left Ethan stunned. It was the ease with which Clara had connected with him. She didn't treat Liam like a puzzle to be solved or a problem to fix. Instead, she approached him with patience, kindness, and genuine curiosity, as if she truly believed in his potential. Ethan couldn't shake the image of Clara's smile from his mind. Her warmth radiated not just toward Liam, but to everyone around her. He remembered how other customers responded to her. Some laughed at her jokes, others thanked her for her attentiveness. But there was something special about the way she interacted with children. Ethan had seen it firsthand last night, and now he wanted answers. Who was this woman who seemed to understand what so many professionals had missed? Determined to find out more, Ethan decided to return to the diner later that afternoon. He told himself it was purely professional, to thank Clara for what she had done for Liam. But deep down, he knew there was more to it. There was something magnetic about her presence, something that drew him in and made him want to know her better. When Ethan walked into the diner, he spotted Clara immediately. She was busy taking orders at another table, but even from across the room, her energy was unmistakable. She moved with confidence, greeting customers warmly and laughing at their jokes. Ethan took a seat at the counter, ordering coffee while keeping one eye on her. When she finally noticed him sitting there, her face lit up with recognition. "Mr. Caldwell," she exclaimed, walking over with a tray in hand. "Back so soon? I thought you only came here on Thursdays." Ethan chuckled nervously, feeling slightly embarrassed at being caught returning so quickly. "Well, I guess I couldn't stay away," he admitted. "Actually, I wanted to say thank you for last night. What you did for Liam, it was incredible." Clara shrugged modestly, brushing off the compliment. "I didn't do anything special. I just talked to him like I would any other kid. Kids like Liam, they're smarter than we give them credit for. Sometimes all they need is someone willing to meet them where they are." Her words struck a chord with Ethan. Meet them where they are. It sounded so simple, yet it was something he had never fully grasped before. All those expensive therapies and structured lessons. He had been trying to mold Liam into someone who could fit into the world, rather than meeting him halfway. Clara's approach was different. She didn't try to change Liam. She accepted him exactly as he was and found a way to connect with him on his terms. Curious to learn more about her, Ethan asked, "Do you work with kids often? You seem really good at it." Clara hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "Yeah, actually, I'm studying special education at the community college. I've always loved working with kids, especially those who need a little extra support. My younger brother has Down syndrome, so growing up I learned a lot about inclusion and understanding differences. It inspired me to pursue a career helping kids like Liam, and like my brother." Ethan listened intently, impressed by her passion and dedication. Here was someone who wasn't just going through the motions. She genuinely cared about making a difference. "That's amazing," he said sincerely. "You have a real gift." "Clara, watching you with Liam last night, it was like watching magic happen." Clara blushed at the compliment, shaking her head. "It's not magic, just practice and patience, but thank you. That means a lot." For a moment, neither of them spoke. The diner buzzed with activity around them, but Ethan barely noticed. His thoughts were racing. This young woman had accomplished in minutes what years of therapy hadn't. If she could make such an impact in one evening, Imagine what she could do with consistent involvement in Liam's life. An idea began forming in Ethan's mind, one that felt both bold and necessary. "Clara," he said finally, his voice steady despite the nerves bubbling inside him. "I don't know if this is completely inappropriate, but I need to ask you something. Would you consider working with Liam full-time, as his tutor and caregiver?" Clara's eyes widened in surprise. "Me? Work with Liam full-time?" She looked uncertain, glancing around the diner as if searching for reassurance. "I mean, I'd love to help, but I'm not sure I'm qualified enough. And besides, wouldn't that be weird? We barely know each other." Ethan held up a hand, eager to reassure her. "I get it. This probably sounds crazy coming from someone you met less than 24 hours ago. But Clara, what you did last night, it was more than just talking to him. You saw him, really saw him. And I think you could make a huge difference in his life. I'll pay you whatever you need, and you can balance your studies however works best for you. Please just think about it." Clara bit her lip, clearly torn. On one hand, the offer was tempting. Working closely with Liam would allow her to apply everything she was learning in school while making a tangible impact on a child's life. On the other hand, accepting a job from a near stranger felt risky. What if things didn't work out? What if she let Liam or Ethan down? "I'll think about it," she said finally, offering a small smile. "But I can't promise anything, right now." Ethan nodded, respecting her hesitation. "Of course, take your time. No pressure, just please don't dismiss the idea outright. I truly believe you could change our lives." As Clara returned to her duties, Ethan sat quietly, sipping his coffee and reflecting on the conversation. He knew he was asking a lot, especially from someone as young and inexperienced as Clara appeared to be. Yet he also knew that sometimes the people who made the biggest impact weren't the ones with decades of experience or fancy degrees. Sometimes it was the ones who simply cared enough to try. Over the next few days, Ethan couldn't stop thinking about Clara. He replayed their conversation in his mind, wondering if he had come on too strong or pushed too hard. But every time he pictured Liam giggling at the diner, he reminded himself why he had taken the risk. For years, he had relied on experts and specialists to guide him, trusting their credentials over his instincts. Now, for the first time, he was following his gut, and it led him straight to Clara. Finally, after 3 sleepless nights, Clara called him. Her voice was hesitant but resolute. "Mr. Caldwell, I've thought about your offer, and I think I'd like to give it a shot. Not because of the money or anything like that, but because I really believe I can help Liam. And honestly, I think he might help me too." Relief washed over Ethan, followed quickly by excitement. "Clara, you won't regret this, neither will Liam. Thank you for believing in us." And just like that, a new chapter began, not just for Liam, but for Ethan and Clara as well. None of them knew exactly where this journey would lead, but one thing was certain. Something extraordinary had started that night at the diner. Something that would change all their lives forever. Clara started working with Liam the following week, and from the very first day it was clear that she had a natural gift. She didn't come in with grand plans or complicated strategies. Instead, she focused on building trust and creating moments of connection. Her approach was simple yet profound. She met Liam where he was, without judgment or expectation. For Ethan, watching her work was like witnessing a delicate dance, one that required patience, intuition, and an unwavering belief in Liam's abilities. On Clara's first morning at their home, she arrived carrying a small bag filled with toys, picture cards, and art supplies. She greeted Liam warmly, kneeling down to his level as she always did. "Hey, buddy," she said softly, holding up a stuffed animal. "Look who I brought to say hi." To Ethan's surprise, Liam reached out hesitantly, touching the toy before letting out a soft laugh. It was a small gesture, but it spoke volumes. Clara smiled brightly, handing him the stuffed animal and saying, "This is Mr. Bear. He loves adventures. Want to take him on one?" From there, Clara seamlessly integrated herself into their routine. She spent hours playing with Liam, using games and activities to encourage communication. One of her favorite techniques was turning everyday tasks into opportunities for learning. During snack time, for example, she would hold up a banana and ask, "What's this?" If Liam didn't respond right away, she wouldn't push him. Instead, she'd peel the banana dramatically, pretending it was talking. I'm so yummy," she'd say in a silly voice. More often than not, Liam would giggle and mimic her actions, or even attempt a word. Ethan watched these interactions from a distance, marveling at how effortlessly Clara seemed to break through barriers that had once felt insurmountable. At first, he worried about stepping back and allowing someone else to take the lead. After all, he had spent years being both parent and teacher to Liam. But as days turned into weeks, he realized that having Clara around wasn't just helping Liam. It was giving Ethan permission to breathe again. For the first time in years, he could step out of the role of constant caregiver and simply be a dad. One evening after Clara had left for the day, Ethan sat on the couch flipping through old photo albums. He paused on a picture of himself and Liam taken shortly after the diagnosis. In the photo, Ethan looked exhausted, his eyes hollow with worry, while Liam stared blankly ahead, unsmiling. The contrast between then and now was staggering. These days, Liam laughed more, explored more, and even initiated contact by reaching for Ethan's hand or tugging at his sleeve. Simple gestures, yes, but each one felt like a miracle. As grateful as Ethan was for Clara's impact on Liam, he couldn't ignore the effect she was having on him personally. There was something about her presence that made the house feel lighter, warmer. She brought laughter and energy into their lives, qualities that had been missing for far too long. Over time, Ethan found himself looking forward to their conversations, not just about Liam's progress, but about random things like movies, books, and childhood memories. Clara had a way of making people feel seen, and Ethan wasn't immune to it. One afternoon, while Liam played quietly in the living room, Ethan decided to open up to Clara about his struggles. They were sitting at the kitchen table, sipping tea, and reviewing Liam's weekly goals. Ethan hesitated for a moment, unsure if sharing his thoughts was appropriate. But something about Clara's calm demeanor encouraged him to speak. "You know," he began, "before you came into our lives, I thought I was doing everything I could for Liam. I hired the best therapists, bought every gadget, followed every recommendation, but nothing worked. I started to feel like maybe I wasn't cut out to be his dad." Clara listened intently, her expression thoughtful. "It sounds like you've been carrying a lot of weight on your shoulders," she said gently. "But Ethan, you're doing an amazing job. You love Liam fiercely, and that's what matters most. Kids like Liam, they don't need perfect parents. They need parents who show up even when it's hard. And you've done that every single day." Her words hit Ethan like a balm, soothing wounds he hadn't realized were still raw. No one had ever acknowledged his efforts quite like that before. Even during therapy sessions, the focus was always on Liam's progress, not on Ethan's sacrifices. Hearing Clara validate his role as a father meant more to him than she could possibly know. As the weeks went by, Ethan noticed subtle changes in himself as well. He began spending less time glued to his phone or laptop and more time engaging with Liam. Inspired by Clara's creativity, he started incorporating playful activities into their daily routine. On weekends, they visited parks, zoos, and museums, exploring the world together in ways Ethan hadn't thought possible before. Each outing brought new discoveries. For Liam, who was learning to navigate unfamiliar environments, and for Ethan, who was rediscovering the joy of parenthood. But despite the progress, challenges remained. Some days, Liam regressed slightly, struggling to communicate or becoming overwhelmed by sensory stimuli. On those occasions, Clara reminded Ethan to celebrate the victories, no matter how small. "Every step forward counts," she would say. "Even if it feels like 2 steps back sometimes, we're still moving in the right direction." Through it all, Ethan grew increasingly aware of his growing feelings for Clara. At first, he dismissed them as gratitude, a natural response to someone who had transformed his life. But as time passed, he realized it was more than that. He admired her resilience, her compassion, and the way she lit up any room she entered. Most importantly, he trusted her, not just with Liam's care, but with his own vulnerabilities. One evening, after putting Liam to bed, Ethan mustered the courage to bring up the topic. Clara, he said hesitantly, joining her in the living room where she was organizing Liam's educational materials. I need to say something. I hope it doesn't make things awkward. Clara looked up, her brow furrowing slightly. Okay. What is it? Ethan took a deep breath, choosing his words carefully. You've done so much for us, for Liam, for me, and I can't thank you enough. But lately I've been feeling, well, more than just gratitude. I care about you, Clara. A lot. And I wanted to be honest about that because I don't want anything to change between us unless you're okay with it. For a moment, Clara didn't respond. She stared at him, her expression unreadable. Then slowly a smile spread across her face. Ethan, she said, her voice soft but firm, you have no idea how much your honesty means to me. I care about you too, and about Liam. This whole experience has changed me in ways I never expected. But we should take things slow, okay? Let's focus on Liam first and see where this goes. Relieved and hopeful, Ethan nodded. Of course. Whatever you're comfortable with. And so their relationship evolved. Not drastically, but steadily. They continued working together as a team, supporting Liam's growth while navigating their own emotions. Through late-night conversations, shared laughter, and countless milestones, they built a bond that went beyond employer and employee. It was a partnership rooted in mutual respect, trust, and a shared commitment to Liam's future. Little did they know, however, that their journey was far from over. Challenges lay ahead, both personal and professional, that would test their resolve and deepen their connection even further. But for now, they cherished the present, finding strength in each other and hope in the progress Liam continued to make. Together, they were proving that sometimes, the most unexpected relationships could lead to the greatest transformations. As months passed, Clara became an inseparable part of Ethan and Liam's lives. Her presence wasn't just a professional arrangement anymore, it was a cornerstone of their daily existence. She brought structure, creativity, and warmth into their home, transforming it from a quiet, often tense space into one filled with laughter, learning, and connection. For Ethan, watching Clara interact with Liam felt like witnessing magic unfold every single day. Each milestone, no matter how small, was celebrated as a victory, not just for Liam, but for all three of them. One particularly memorable morning, Ethan walked into the living room to find Clara sitting cross-legged on the floor with Liam. Between them was a colorful board game she had created herself using laminated cards and drawings. The objective was simple: match pictures with corresponding words or sounds. Clara clapped enthusiastically whenever Liam pointed to the correct card, cheering him on with phrases like, "Yes, that's it," and "You're so smart." When Liam successfully matched a picture of a dog with its bark, "Woof," he grinned widely, his eyes lighting up with pride. Ethan leaned against the doorway, smiling at the scene before him. He couldn't help but feel a surge of gratitude, not just for Clara's dedication, but for the way she made everything seem effortless. Where others might have seen obstacles, Clara saw opportunities. Instead of focusing on what Liam couldn't do, she celebrated what he could and encouraged him to try new things without fear of failure. But beyond her work with Liam, Clara also continued to inspire Ethan in ways he hadn't anticipated. One evening, after Liam had gone to bed, they sat together on the porch sipping tea under a blanket of stars. Clara spoke passionately about her dreams of opening a center for children with special needs, a place where families could access resources, therapies, and support under one roof. Her vision was ambitious yet grounded in compassion and practicality. "I want parents to feel less alone," she explained, her voice soft but determined. "When I was growing up with my brother, there were days when my mom felt completely overwhelmed. She didn't know where to turn or who to ask for help. I don't want anyone else to feel that way." Ethan listened intently, moved by her sincerity. He realized then that Clara wasn't just driven by personal experience. She genuinely believed in making the world a better place, one child, one family at a time. Her passion reignited something within him, a desire to use his success for more than just profit. For years he had poured his energy into building his business empire, but now he saw the potential to create something meaningful, something lasting. Inspired by Clara's dream, Ethan began exploring ways to contribute. At first, he offered financial advice, helping her draft a business plan and budget for her future center. But as conversations deepened, he found himself wanting to do more. One afternoon, while reviewing her college tuition bills, Ethan noticed the strain on Clara's face. "Is everything okay?" he asked gently. Clara sighed, hesitating before answering. "It's just, my scholarship funding got cut recently. I'm trying to figure out how to cover the rest of my tuition, but working extra shifts at the diner isn't enough. I might have to drop out." The news hit Ethan like a punch to the gut. How could someone as talented and dedicated as Clara be forced to give up her education because of money? It seemed unfair, almost cruel. Without hesitation, he made a decision, one that surprised even himself. "Don't worry about it," he said firmly. "I'll take care of your tuition." Clara's eyes widened in shock. "What? No, Ethan, I can't let you do that. That's too much." "It's not charity," he insisted. "Think of it as an investment, in you, in Liam, and in the future you're building. You've already changed our lives in ways I never thought possible. Let me help you achieve your dreams." Despite her protests, Ethan set up a fund through a foundation he had established years ago to support educational initiatives. He ensured the payments were made anonymously, hoping to ease Clara's concerns about accepting such a generous gift. However, Clara eventually discovered the truth during a routine check-in with her college's financial office. Furious but also touched, she confronted Ethan later that week. "You shouldn't have done this," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. "I appreciate it, I really do. But I don't want you to think I'm taking advantage of you, or your kindness." Ethan shook his head, stepping closer to her. "Clara, listen to me. This has nothing to do with obligation or guilt. I believe in you, in your heart, your talent, and your vision. What you're doing for Liam is incredible, but what you're capable of achieving for other kids is extraordinary. Let me be part of that journey." Tears welled up in Clara's eyes as she processed his words. She knew Ethan meant every syllable, and his faith in her gave her the courage to accept his offer, not as a handout but as a partnership. From that moment on, their bond grew stronger, rooted in mutual trust and shared purpose. With her tuition secured, Clara threw herself into her studies with renewed determination. She juggled classes, assignments, and her work with Liam, often staying up late to finish projects or prepare lesson plans. Despite the long hours, she remained cheerful and optimistic, always finding time to celebrate Liam's progress. By spring, Liam had added dozens of new words to his vocabulary and was beginning to string sentences together. Simple phrases like "I want juice" or "play outside" became milestones worth celebrating. Meanwhile, Ethan continued to reflect on his own life. Watching Clara's selflessness and dedication inspired him to reevaluate his priorities. For years he had been consumed by work, letting his career define him. Now, surrounded by Clara's warmth and Liam's growing confidence, he realized that true fulfillment came from relationships, not accomplishments. He started selling off parts of his company, channeling the proceeds into philanthropic ventures aimed at supporting children with special needs. His ultimate goal was to collaborate with Clara on her dream center, turning her vision into reality. Their evenings together became sacred moments of connection. Whether they were discussing Liam's progress, brainstorming ideas for the center, or simply sharing stories about their childhoods, Ethan and Clara found solace in each other's company. Their conversations flowed effortlessly, blending humor, vulnerability, and hope. Slowly but surely, their friendship blossomed into something deeper, something neither of them had expected but both welcomed wholeheartedly. One night, as they sat side by side on the couch watching Liam play with his toys, Ethan turned to Clara and said softly, "You've given us so much, more than I ever thought possible. You taught Liam how to communicate, and you reminded me how to live again. I don't know what I did to deserve you, but I'm grateful every single day." Clara smiled, her cheeks flushing slightly. "We've helped each other, Ethan. You've given me a chance to chase my dreams, and Liam has shown me the beauty of patience and perseverance. We're a team." And she was right. Together, they had formed a bond that transcended roles and titles. They were partners in every sense of the word, united by love, trust, and a shared commitment to creating a brighter future for Liam and countless others like him. As they looked ahead, they knew challenges would arise, but they faced them with unwavering resolve, knowing that their strength lay in their unity. As summer approached, Ethan and Clara's partnership deepened in ways neither of them had anticipated. Their days were filled with a delicate balance of work, learning, and moments of quiet reflection. Clara continued to make remarkable progress, with Liam, who was now speaking in full sentences and expressing his emotions more openly than ever before. For Ethan, watching his son transform from a silent, withdrawn boy into a curious and expressive child felt like witnessing a miracle unfold right before his eyes. Yet, as much as he celebrated Liam's growth, he couldn't ignore the growing bond between himself and Clara. Ethan had always been a private man, someone who preferred to keep his personal life separate from his professional world. But Clara had blurred those lines in the most beautiful way. She wasn't just a caregiver or a tutor. She was a friend, a confidant, and increasingly, someone he found himself thinking about constantly. Her laughter brightened his days, her wisdom challenged him to be better, and her presence filled the empty spaces in his heart that had lingered since losing Liam's mother. Still, Ethan wrestled with his feelings. Was it too soon? Was he risking the stability they had built by letting romance enter the picture? These questions weighed heavily on his mind, but one thing was certain. Clara had become an irreplaceable part of their lives. One afternoon, as Clara helped Liam practice writing letters on a chalkboard, Ethan stood in the doorway observing them. The scene was so ordinary yet profoundly moving. Clara crouched beside Liam, guiding his hand gently as he traced the curve of a C. When he finished, she clapped excitedly, saying, "Look at that! Perfect!" Liam beamed with pride, turning to Ethan and holding up the chalkboard for approval. Ethan nodded, giving him a thumbs up. It was a small moment, but it spoke volumes about how far they had come together. Later that evening, after Liam had gone to bed, Ethan invited Clara to sit outside on the patio. The air was warm, and the faint hum of crickets filled the silence. Ethan hesitated for a moment, unsure of how to begin. Finally, he said, "Clara, I need to talk to you about something important." Clara looked at him curiously, setting down her cup of tea. "What is it?" Ethan took a deep breath, choosing his words carefully. "I've been doing a lot of thinking lately. About us. About how much you mean to me and to Liam. You've changed our lives in ways I never thought possible, and I don't know how to thank you for that. But I also realize that my feelings for you have grown beyond gratitude. I care about you deeply, Clara. More than I ever expected." Clara's expression softened, though a flicker of uncertainty crossed her face. "Ethan," she began slowly, "you know how much I care about you and Liam, too. But we have to be careful. This isn't just about us, it's about Liam. We can't let anything disrupt the progress we've made." "I understand," Ethan replied earnestly. "Believe me, I've thought about that a lot. But I think we owe it to ourselves, and to each other, to explore what this could be. Not rushing, not forcing anything, but being honest about how we feel. Doesn't that sound worth trying?" Clara considered his words, her gaze thoughtful. After a long pause, she nodded. "Okay, let's take it slow. For Liam's sake, and ours." With that agreement, their relationship shifted subtly but significantly. They began spending more time together outside of their usual routine, taking walks in the park or sharing meals after Liam had fallen asleep. These moments allowed them to connect on a deeper level, discovering new layers of each other's personalities. Clara loved hearing stories about Ethan's early days as an entrepreneur, while Ethan marveled at Clara's resilience and determination. Together they laughed, dreamed, and imagined a future where love and purpose intertwined seamlessly. However, just as things seemed to be falling into place, an unexpected challenge arose. One evening, Clara received a call from her college advisor, informing her that despite Ethan's financial support, her scholarship application for the upcoming semester had been denied due to administrative errors. Without additional funding, she would be unable to continue her studies, a devastating blow to her dreams of becoming a special education teacher. When Clara shared the news with Ethan, her voice trembled with frustration and disappointment. "I don't understand," she said, pacing back and forth in the living room. "I worked so hard for this, all those late nights studying, all the sacrifices, and now it feels like it's slipping away." Ethan listened silently, his heart breaking for her. He knew how much this dream meant to her and how tirelessly she had pursued it. Determined to help, he suggested, "What if we appealed the decision? Maybe there's still a chance to fix this." Clara shook her head sadly. "It's not that simple. The deadlines have passed, and even if they hadn't, I can't keep relying on your generosity. I need to figure this out on my own." Her words stung, not because of their tone but because of the underlying sense of pride and independence that drove them. Ethan admired Clara's strength, but he also understood the weight she carried. Sitting her down on the couch, he took her hands in his and said firmly, "Clara, listen to me. You're not alone in this. Yes, I want to help you, not because I pity you, but because I believe in you. You've given everything to Liam and to your education. Let me do this for you, for both of us." Tears welled up in Clara's eyes as she processed his words. She wanted to argue, to insist that she didn't need saving. But deep down, she knew Ethan's intentions came from a place of genuine love and respect. Reluctantly, she agreed to let him intervene once again. The next morning, Ethan contacted his lawyer and arranged a meeting with the college administration. Using his influence and resources, he negotiated a solution. Clara would receive a grant through a foundation he had recently established, ensuring her tuition was covered without further complications. This time, however, he made sure Clara was aware of the arrangement from the start, emphasizing that it was not charity, but an investment in her future. When Clara learned of Ethan's efforts, she was overwhelmed with gratitude, but also conflicted. "You're amazing, Ethan," she admitted, her voice thick with emotion. "But I hate feeling like I'm indebted to you. What if people think I'm using you or taking advantage of your kindness?" Ethan pulled her into a gentle embrace, holding her close. "Clara, stop worrying about what others might think. This is between us. You've earned every bit of this, not because of me, but because of who you are. You're smart, compassionate, and driven. And someday when you open that center you've always dreamed of, you'll pay it forward in ways I can't even imagine." Clara rested her head against his shoulder, allowing herself to accept his reassurance. In that moment, she realized that their relationship was built on trust and mutual support, an unshakable foundation that could weather any storm. With her education secured and her confidence restored, Clara threw herself back into her studies and her work with Liam. By fall, Liam was thriving more than ever, engaging in conversations, making friends at school, and even participating in art classes designed for children with special needs. Each milestone reinforced Clara's belief in the power of connection and patience, while reminding Ethan of the extraordinary impact one person could have on another's life. As for Ethan and Clara, their relationship continued to flourish. They supported each other's dreams, celebrated each other's victories, and faced challenges side by side. Together, they proved that love, when rooted in understanding, respect, and shared purpose, could overcome any obstacle. And as they looked toward the future, they knew that no matter what lay ahead, they would face it together, united by their commitment to Liam and to each other. By the time winter rolled around, Ethan, Clara, and Liam had settled into a rhythm that felt almost magical. Their days were filled with laughter, learning, and moments of quiet connection. Clara continued to work wonders with Liam, helping him navigate the world in ways that once seemed impossible. His confidence soared as he made friends at school, participated in group activities, and even began expressing himself through art. Every drawing he brought home, a stick figure family, a bright yellow sun, or a scribbled dog, was a testament to how far he had come. For Ethan, watching his son flourish was nothing short of miraculous. But what truly amazed him was the way Clara had woven herself into the fabric of their lives. She wasn't just a caregiver or a tutor anymore. She was family. Her presence had transformed their home from a place of silence and solitude into one of warmth and joy. Even the little things, the sound of her humming while cooking dinner, the way she ruffled Liam's hair when he did something clever, or the easy banter she shared with Ethan, felt like gifts he hadn't realized he needed until now. Clara, too, found herself deeply rooted in their world. Working with Liam gave her purpose, but being with Ethan gave her something else entirely. Love. It wasn't the kind of love she had imagined for herself. Not perfect, not without challenges, but it was real and steady, built on trust and mutual respect. Together they created a partnership that went beyond words, one where actions spoke, louder than promises. Whether it was Ethan surprising her with coffee on early mornings or Clara leaving sticky notes of encouragement on his laptop, their bond grew stronger with each passing day. One chilly December evening, Ethan decided to do something special. He invited Clara to join him and Liam for a trip to the city's annual holiday festival. The streets were lined with twinkling lights. Vendors sold hot cocoa and roasted chestnuts, and carolers sang cheerful tunes under glowing lanterns. For Liam, it was a sensory adventure. He marveled at the colorful decorations, giggled at the sight of costumed characters, and clapped along to the music. For Ethan and Clara, it was an opportunity to step away from their routines and simply enjoy being together. As they strolled through the festival, Clara noticed a small booth tucked away in a corner. A sign above it read, "Wishes for the New Year." Curious, she pulled Ethan and Liam over to take a closer look. Inside the booth, visitors were encouraged to write down their hopes and dreams for the coming year on slips of paper, which would later be tied to a large tree adorned with ribbons and ornaments. "Let's do it," Clara said excitedly, grabbing 3 slips of paper and a pen. Handing one to Ethan and another to Liam, she explained, "Write down one thing you wish for next year." Liam frowned slightly, unsure of what to write. Clara knelt beside him, whispering suggestions. "Maybe you could wish for more friends? Or to learn how to ride a bike?" After some thought, Liam carefully scrawled a few letters on his slip, before handing it back to Clara with a proud smile. Ethan watched the exchange, touched by the simplicity of the moment. When it was his turn, he hesitated, then wrote his wish quickly before folding the paper. As they approached the tree to hang their wishes, Clara teased, "No peeking. These are private." Once all 3 slips were securely tied to the branches, Clara turned to Ethan and asked, "So what did you wish for?" Ethan chuckled softly, glancing at Liam, who was busy pointing out a nearby ice skating rink. "If I tell you, it won't come true," he replied cryptically, though his eyes sparkled with meaning. Later that night, as they tucked Liam into bed, Ethan lingered in the doorway, watching Clara read him a bedtime story. Her voice was soothing, her presence calming, and Ethan couldn't help but feel overwhelmed with gratitude. This woman had changed everything, not just for Liam, but for him too. She had taught him how to live again, how to find joy in the smallest moments, and how to believe in the power of love. When Clara finally emerged from Liam's room, Ethan was waiting for her in the living room. He stood near the fireplace, holding 2 mugs of steaming hot chocolate. "I figured we could use a little extra warmth," he said, handing her one of the mugs. Clara smiled, settling onto the couch beside him. The fire crackled softly, casting a golden glow across the room. For a while, neither of them spoke. They simply enjoyed the quiet companionship, sipping their drinks and listening to the faint hum of holiday music playing in the background. Finally, Ethan broke the silence. "You know, I've been thinking about something," he began, his tone thoughtful. "This past year, it's been the best of my life. Not because of business success or anything like that, but because of you, because of us. I never thought I'd find someone who understands me and Liam the way you do." Clara's cheeks flushed slightly, though her expression remained serious. "Ethan, you don't have to say this. I already know how much you care." "No, I need to say it," he insisted, leaning forward slightly. "Clara, you've given me so much: hope, purpose, love, and I want to give you something in return. Something permanent." Before she could respond, Ethan reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Opening it, he revealed a delicate silver bracelet engraved with the words, "Together, forever." "This isn't a proposal," he clarified, sensing her surprise. "At least not yet, but it's a promise. A promise that no matter what happens, we're in this together. You, me, and Liam." Tears welled up in Clara's eyes as she stared at the bracelet, then at Ethan. "You really mean that, don't you?" she whispered. "With all my heart," he replied, slipping the bracelet onto her wrist. "We've already built so much together, a family, a future, a dream. Why stop now?" Clara nodded, her voice trembling with emotion. "Okay, together forever." The rest of the winter passed in a blur of happiness and hard work. Clara graduated at the top of her class, earning accolades for her thesis on inclusive education. With Ethan's support, she began laying the groundwork for her dream center, securing funding, recruiting volunteers, and designing programs tailored to children with special needs. Meanwhile, Ethan continued scaling back his business ventures, focusing instead on philanthropy and community initiatives. Together, they envisioned a future where their efforts would create lasting change, not just for Liam, but for countless families like theirs. On a crisp spring morning, nearly a year after their first meeting at the diner, Ethan and Clara stood side by side at the grand opening of Clara's center. The building was modest but welcoming, its walls painted in bright colors and decorated with artwork created by children. Dozens of families gathered for the event, many of whom had heard about Clara's vision and wanted to be part of it. Clara addressed the crowd, thanking everyone for their support. Ethan stood off to the side, holding Liam's hand. Watching her speak with such passion and conviction, he felt an overwhelming sense of pride, not just in her accomplishments, but in the life they had built together. When Clara finished her speech, she turned to Ethan and Liam, beckoning them to join her on stage. "This wouldn't have been possible without them," she said, her voice breaking slightly. "They believed in me when I doubted myself, and they reminded me why I started this journey in the first place. So thank you, Ethan and Liam, for being my partners, my family, and my inspiration." The audience erupted in applause, but Ethan barely heard it. All he could focus on was the woman standing beside him, the woman who had taught his son how to speak, who had shown him how to live again, and who had become the love of his life. As they embraced on stage, surrounded by cheers and laughter, Ethan whispered in Clara's ear, "You didn't just change our lives, you changed the world." And in that moment, standing together as a family, they knew they had found something rare and beautiful, a love that transcended words, a purpose that united them, and a future full of endless possibilities.